Hi, I'm Rob. It's garage time. Hey everybody, it's Rob. Welcome to the garage. I'm down here on the floor next to the infamous and ever wonderful XK6 at the business end because what we're going to do today is try to mate this to the Turbo 350 transmission that I have that's going to go into the Jag Special. And the way that I'm going to do that is to use an adapter kit that I bought from John's Cars in Dallas, Texas. Is Dallas, Texas or Fort Worth? Anyway, John's Cars in Texas comes with this nifty cast aluminum and machined adapter plate. And this that I've already put right on, which is an adapter for the Chevy flex plate. You get rid of the Jaguar flex plate and you adapt a Chevy flex plate to it to go to the torque converter and inside the Turbo 350. And then the next thing that I got that wasn't part of the John's Cars kit, but is essential to this project is this lovely high torque mini starter that will go right about here attached to the adapter, go to the adapter plate. The John's Cars kit comes with all the bolts you need, comes with all the correct bolts. Here I have the bolts that, these bolts go between the adapter plate and the engine block. These grade 8 bolts attach the flex plate to the flywheel, bolting it to the adapter. As you can see, I've made some marks. These are alignment marks for me to make sure the flex plate goes on correctly. Oh, also part of the kit, I forget things, is this modified Chevy flex plate. It's had the center hole widened, and it's had some of the holes re-drilled to mate to the flex plate adapter on the end of the Jaguar crankshaft. I can't put this on yet because I got to put the transmission adapter on first. So let's fire up a couple more cameras and make that happen. All right, so now, whoops, I'm sitting on my phone. Can't have that. And then we will take the adapter plate, like so, and there's a dowel right there that goes into a hole right here. So we have to first get the dowel in the hole. I'm blocking one of the cameras, aren't I? There we go. Okay, the dowel's in the hole. Let's take a bolt and put it through. There's that one. And then take the rest of these and, whoops, that is incorrect. The modified flex plate. Here we go, here's this. Onto my alignment marks. And then some bolts. Whoopsie. In you go. Yay. Okay. And now, what do you say we drag that transmission over here and see about bolting it on? Come here, you. Look at that, will you? Okay. We will up. up some more. There we go. What do you think, Mr. Fink? Oh. Look at that, will ya? That went together easily. Let's stick some bolts in there. Question is, are we going to be able to get it up high enough without crashing into Pam's kayak? Oh, this thing... This thing works pretty great. Okay. Have to remember to not get underneath this thing because this is, in fact, what would otherwise be known as a critical lift. Yeah. I don't know if you can see, but the end of the crane is banging into Pam's kayak. There's a little bit more to go to get it over the edge of the chassis. And I think what I'm going to have to do is just jack it up and lower it down and maybe move those two jack stands out to the very front so that I can more effectively wiggle the crane around. But so far so good, man. So far so good, and I haven't gotten maimed or crushed. So yeah, there's that. Let's mach schau, as they say. Okay, so I did what I said I was going to do, and I lowered the chassis about 4 inches, and I got Pam's kayak up a little higher. We're actually going to give it a shove. There. So now what we will do is... Man, boy, I am so glad I bought this tool right now. This thing is the bomb. You nitwit. Don't crack the sump, you idiot. Now, let's level it out. There. There we go. We do not want the sump below the chassis. And I'll have you know that the engine mount bolts are directly in line with the cross member. So, down we go. Is this thing in the center of the chassis? My calibrated eyeball says yes. My calibrated eyeball says even more yes. Cool. Put this under the rear into the rear transmission mount. And oh my, yeah. Well, check that out. The engine is in the chassis for the very first time. I am so excited. This is the best thing ever. That is not terrible. That is not terrible at all. It's pretty great. Hey everybody, we're back out there. As you saw, I got the engine mounted into the chassis without too much hassle, just only a little bit of hassle. And it's looking pretty good. It's pretty much mostly centered. You can see right here, my calibrated eyeball says that the universal joint is evenly in between the opening. And one of the things that I was looking at last night after I shut the cameras off was the length of the drive shaft here from the rear axle flange to the splines that go into the transmission yoke, and the distance from the drive shaft flange and the splines that go into the transmission yoke, with an appropriate amount of slip so that it's not jammed hard up all the way in there against the stop. You want it to be a little bit out. By my calibrated eyeball, trademarked, it looked about right. And I've been wondering about that since I got to the point where I've been wondering about that the whole build, whether I was going to have to cut and shorten this piece of the drive shaft in order to make it fit in there. And I don't think I'm going to have to do that. What I'm going to do right now is do a test fit. I'm going to take the slip yoke out of the transmission. I'm going to attach it to the end of the drive shaft, and then we'll see about fitting that thing in there, see if we can get it in there and make it work. Here we have the drive shaft. Here we have the slip yoke. Now, this slip yoke is a hybrid that I put together myself. It's this part right here came from the stock XK6 secondary drive shaft. And then this slip yoke is a slip yoke that I bought that is intended to fit into the tail shaft of various General Motors transmissions. And it turns out that luckily the Jaguar yoke and the Chevy yoke take the same size universal joint bearing. The one thing I did have to do was substitute some thinner circlips on the Jaguar side because the circlip grooves are slightly more inward than they are on the Chevy yoke. And so when I went to put the circlips in, the circlips that came with the universal yoke, the universal joint, when I went to put those in, they wouldn't fit. So I had to get some other circlips that were a little bit thinner. But it all went together. After that, it all went together well. So now we will slip it onto here. I'm going to make sure that we have it, make sure that it goes on in such a way that it is there we go. Slip the bolt into the hole. These are I remember I bought these are Craftsman, a set of Craftsman wrenches that are specifically designed to have a ratcheting function. That's what that little cutout is right there. And I bought these, geez, I don't know, 25 years ago at least. Because I saw they were advertised on TV, and I thought, wow, those are really cool. I could use those. So now let's slide the washer into place. It just slips over the shank of the bolt, and then we do this. There we go. Okay. This drive shaft is assembled. Let's see if it fits. Okay, so I took the drive shaft and I laid it into the chassis right here, and I eyeballed it again. And what I think I'm going to need to do is move the engine and transmission forward a short distance, like maybe 1 inch. And then this thing will probably fit perfectly. Now, we don't have to pick this way up high, just enough. There it is. Let's poke the drive shaft in there, shall we? I think that sounds like a plan and a half. Take the drive shaft, don't drop it. Oh, wait. Okay. Up above that, then ow. There we go. And there we go. Now let's come out from underneath here. Shove a couple of bolts through. Ouch. There. There we go, that's tight enough. All right, now grab this thing and there it is. That's right where we want it. Yep. That's right where we want it. Perfect. Let's make sure that the engine is still centered in the chassis-ish. Let's take a look. Let's eyeball the alignment. Let's lower the engine back down. Ready, go. There. This needs to move over this way a little more so that the drive shaft is more centered in the... Looks good. I need to undo the drive shaft and see if I can get it out because it did move in a little bit. Right here, it's moved in a little bit. It's not all the way pushed in. There's probably like a 1/4 inch maybe left. But let's leave it like that and then see if we can get the drive shaft out. Clonk. Can we get it out? Yes! Nice. Have to bring it out upwards, which means when I go to reassemble it, yeah, so there it is. Engine's looking good. I still gotta take the crane off and move things out of the way and pack things up. And then it's time for me to go inside and feel really good about myself because this turned out okay. I have to say that when I initially did all the measuring of the various bits on the donors, I took a lot of measurements of the engine when I got the donor, with the idea of designing this chassis so that the engine would fit and I'd have enough room to make everything work. And the Jaguar drive shaft is in two pieces. It has this big, thick forward section that I'm pretty sure has a molded-in rubber isolator, and then that goes from the transmission to the center bearing, and then that skinny drive shaft goes from the center bearing back to the rear axle. And the reason they did that is to provide another level of NVH isolation in the drive shaft, another level of making that, because it's a luxury car. They want the car to be like quiet and smooth. So you add a rubber isolator to the drive shaft and it smooths the whole drivetrain right out. I don't care about that. And when I took the drive shaft apart, I thought in my head, I wonder if I can just use that back half of the drive shaft mated to this Turbo 350 that I wanted to use and not have to cut the drive shaft. And outside of just getting the engine placed into the chassis and successfully mocked up, finding out that I don't have to manufacture a drive shaft or make a modified drive shaft or do anything other than just bolt it in makes me really, really super happy. So here it is, my friends, the engine in all its glory. You'll see this level right here, making sure that the engine was actually level with the chassis. The chassis is level. Turns out when I would lower this thing down all the way onto the 2x4 that's under the sump, it would be tilted over a couple of degrees. So I put a little 1/8" steel shim under there, and now it's nice and level. And yeah, this engine is, in fact, in its final position. The next thing that has to happen, though, is building the engine mounts. Building the engine mounts, building the transmission mount, and then getting that engine bolted in there. So at any rate, yeah, success. Oh, and as always, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Please, oh, please, please, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you around the channel. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, my daddy, he raced stock cars a long, long time ago at New England's fastest quarter mile, doing on Westboro Road. He and Mom would rally around in their MGTD, but they bought a Porsche 356 to hear my mom and me. I was raised by gearheads, this apple fell not far from under Daddy's tutelage, messing around with cars. I bet it's getting close to 4 o'clock, wouldn't you think? Probably. Good thing I do all that climbing.